Hello and welcome to Team PokeMart, your one-stop shop for the things that you need to stop and or shop for. And today's special is a smack-talking Meowth, a phenomenal creature who has learned human speak simply to impress a female Meowth, also known in the industry as a Meowthina. But as a product advisory though, I must warn you that once he starts talking, he will not stop, as much as you really wish he would. But this amazing creature can be yours right now for the low price of subscribing to Team PokeMart. Absolute bargain. But today we are here to introduce you to a new member of the Team PokeMart team, being our new cashier Brock. Say hi to Brock, everyone. Now, many of you may be familiar with Mr. Brock because he is quite the prolific name in this world, having been a gym leader, Pokemon breeder, and even a doctor, I believe. Oh, fancy. As well as a traveling companion of the perpetually youthful Ash. But really, if I could describe Brock in one word, that word would be moderately responsible, which would have a hyphen in it to make it one word. But moderately responsible is a trait I tend to look for in all potential Team Pokemon employees. And this is particularly impressive because Brock is a mere 15 years old. Yet another trait that I look for in all employees because it means that I can get around Kanto local minimum wage laws. But before I publicly incriminate myself further, I have nothing but praise for the sheer maturity of Brock, as well as his extensive skill set, which includes but is not limited to sewing, cooking, navigating, planning, and a wide variety of other domestic-based duties. In fact, without Brock, I think it's fairly safe to say that the early days of Ash would have been even more of a disaster than they already were. And speaking of disasters, we should mention Brock's personal life, as should he stumble across quite literally any woman, he will immediately attempt quote-unquote flirt with them, often resulting in highly comical rejection. However, Brock, as with all gym leaders, has a particular type, and he tends to gravitate strongly towards the Officer Jennies and Nurse Joys of the world. And here's how shall we put this nicely, crippling obsession with these two family lines has led Brock to acquiring yet another talent, which is that he is almost immediately able to spot an imposter Officer Jenny or Nurse Joy. Because yes, apparently he is that familiar with their individual physicalities. And I only mention this because it did turn up in his mandatory Team PokeMart background check, and I think that it is reasonable to disclose this to potential customers, especially if you yourself are an Officer Jenny or a Nurse Joy. But the reason why Brock has acquired most of his essential talents is very much out of necessity. You see, Brock was born into a family of 10 children, and as the eldest of the gaggle of Brocklings, he essentially had to take on a parental position, particularly due to the fact that Brock's father had abandoned the family in order to pursue his own ambitions of becoming a wildly successful Pokemon trainer, which is, you know, a fairly common career path in this world, albeit incredibly risky. I mean, I myself once had dreams of becoming a world-renowned Pokemon trainer, but then I had something of a reality check and decided to take a safer path in life, and just look at me now. I am the local manager of one of 9 regional Team Pokemon outlets, and I don't mean to brag, but I make slightly above minimum wage. However, Brock's father Flint, which is a stupid name, was a different case though, and like so many others on their dream-filled journeys, he would fail for undisclosed reasons and take up life as a hermit selling rocks to morons. And you know, you'd actually be surprised just how common that career path is. I mean, I can't even begin to tell you about the inflation issues of the souvenir rock market, but that is an entirely different thesis of its own. Meanwhile, without a father, Brock was left to raise his 9 siblings alongside his mother, as well as take over his father's former position as the leader of the Pewter City Gym. And the theme of this gym, which you have probably picked up on by now, would be rock-type Pokemon. And traditionally, in his role as leader, Brock wielded 2 mighty Mons, being a Geodude and an Onix. In fact, in the case of Onix, this was actually Brock's very first Pokemon, gifted to him by his father on Brock's 10th birthday. Which, in mild defense of Flint, I do have to say, very impressive gift, sir. I almost regret some of the bad things I have said and will continue to say about you. But this rock duo would go on to serve Brock exceptionally well, and he would present a fairly incredible opponent to the many unfortunate challenges of the Pewter City Gym. However, Brock, becoming increasingly suffocated by the overwhelming responsibility of raising a family and managing a business, all before even exiting puberty, slowly warped into a fairly bitter and twisted individual. And this was because he had dreams and passions of his own that he wanted to pursue, which did not bode well when one Ash Ketchum strolled on up into the gym, planning to attain his very first badge. And while he was forced to forfeit the first match, Ash then went on to do what Ash does best, and he realized that he could cheat by causing an electrical fire through Pikachu, thus setting off the gym sprinkler system and weakening Onix to the point of defeat. But after this, Brock does present Ash with the Bold Badge, as well as reveal his dream of traveling the world and becoming a Pokemon breeder, at which point Brock's father reappears from out of the bushes and allows Brock the opportunity to go with Ash by claiming that he would reassume his responsibility and take over the Pewter City Gym once more. And this lifted an incredible weight from the shoulders of Brock, who had never actually actually been particularly interested in battling Pokemon, and instead his true desire was to care for them, in much the same way that he had cared for his family, prior to abandoning them just like his father did, that is. Although with that said, Brock would go on to prove quite a great asset to Ash through his observation and coaching of battles, because even though Brock wasn't too keen on battling himself, he was more than capable of formulating strategy on behalf of Ash. And in addition to this, his passion was not simply restricted to the rock realm anymore, and he would even go on to acquire a Vulpix from a famous breeder by the name of Susie, although very eventually this Vulpix would be returned to her. During his journey though, Brock would briefly leave the party in order to work with Professor Ivy on Valencia Island, and given everything we know about Brock, I think we can all see why that was. We've got two pretty hefty reasons right there. And look, I don't like to make assumptions about my employees, and I certainly don't want to engage in talk behind their backs. So let's just say I've heard some things about Brock and Professor Ivy, and it certainly did not end well. And so for publicly undisclosed reasons, Brock would eventually leave Ivy's residence and reunite with his old pals Ash and Misty as if nothing had ever happened. Things had happened though, make no mistake. He would also return to his home in Pewter City briefly to discover that his mother had commandeered the gym and that it had been remodeled as a rock water type theme, which disgusted Brock so much that he promptly battled and defeated his own mother, once again putting his father back in command. Although by now Brock should have realized that that was a terrible idea. And you know what, eventually Brock's younger brother Forrest would go on to become the Pewter City gym leader because apparently Flint is useless. I mean, let's just put it out there. Failed family man, failed Pokemon trainer, failed gym leader. The best thing this man ever did with his life was sell rocks on the side of the road. I mean, at least that was a business enterprise. But even then, he abandoned that. However, Mr. Brock eventually set his sights much higher than simply becoming a Pokemon breeder, and he began to show a fair bit of interest in becoming a Pokemon doctor, at which point he would ditch Ash again to enroll in medical school, a study that he would take quite well to actually, and during the era of Pokemon Black and White, Brock would be sent to the Johto region to complete an apprenticeship under a fully qualified Pokemon doctor. Although in the Sun and Moon series, Brock would make a proper return to form as a supporting character, and also by this time being a fully qualified Pokedoctor, which is pretty impressive, and I will admit that yes, Brock is overqualified for his cashier job here at Team PokeMart, but you know, you have to snag the talent when the opportunity arises. All of this is very much the journey of anime Brock though, and we really should take some time to focus on his game counterpart, who I would describe as much more of a hard ass. I mean, for example, his trademark kindness of the anime is much less present, with famous quotes such as, "So you're here, I'm Brock, Pewter City's gym leader. You can see just by looking at my Pokemon just how rock hard my willpower is. My Pokemon are all hard as rock and have true grit determination. That's right, my Pokemon are all rock types. Fwahaha! You're going to challenge me even knowing that you'll lose? That's what a trainer's honor demands. So be it. Show me your rock hard, show me your best." I think I got this quote confused with some fanfic I read that one time. But with that said, Brock's attitude certainly does soften somewhat, depending on what game incarnation of him you stumble upon. I mean, for example, in Heart Gold and Soul Silver, Brock even goes so far as to call his rock-type Pokemon cute, so yeah. Speaking of his Pokemon, in each and every appearance, Brock does come into battle, sporting his trademark Onix or Steelix, as well as a member of the Geodude evolutionary line. But other than that, Brock really doesn't get all that much development happening throughout his game tenure, and he is pretty much just a career gym leader. His other team members are quite subject to change, but he can also be commonly seen with various fossil Pokemon like Kabutops, Omastar, or even an Aerodactyl, which makes sense because fossils are rocks. Some more fun facts about Brock. According to Ken Sugimori, the illustrator of the original Pokemon games, Brock was not originally planned to be the very first gym leader battled. Instead, Brock was meant to be second in line after the player had conquered what can only be described as gym leader youngster Joey. Brock's last name has never been officially revealed, however, allegedly several sources in the anime do go on to suggest that his last name is Harrison. Yes, Brock Harrison, which is something that was quote-unquote confirmed by Eric Stewart, Brock's voice actor, in a 2006 edition of K-Zone. And wow, remember K-Zone? Probably not because you're all bloody Zoomers, but let me tell you, back in my day, if you wanted a mediocre magazine that pandered to your basic anime interests, then this is certainly one of the 3 choices you would consider going with. Brock's brief absence from the anime during the Orange Islands arc, where he was replaced by Tracy, was explained in an interview with anime director Masamitsu Hidaka, and he gave his reasoning as realizing that Pokemon was rapidly reportedly going global, and his personal fear that Brock would be seen as a stereotype due to his eyes. So in response to this, they created a plain-looking white dude to fill his role, although they later went back to Brock when they realized that absolutely nobody anywhere actually cared about what Brock looked like. In Heart Gold and Soul Silver, it was revealed that Brock's trainer ID number is 06845 and oh crap, actually, I probably shouldn't have said that. I think I may have just doxed an employee. And finally, a truly useless fact, in the various French dubs and game localizations, Brock's name is Pierre. And there you have it, our new cashier Brock. Please do make sure to stop by Team PokeMart and say hi, which you can do in the comments below or even by joining our Discord server. Furthermore, please do feel free to check out some of our other merchandise on the side here, and even subscribe to the channel for regular bargain content uploaded straight into your YouTube feed. But for now, this has been Team PokeMart, and we'll see you next time.